Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore podcast. It's your What's Going On show with Chris and Mark, and we are fucking sweltering, probably much like everybody else who was sitting watching tonight, and everybody was probably anywhere in the UK. We're not used to these type of temperatures, Mark, are we, mate?
Anything above about 12 degrees, and I struggle. It's, we live in the northeast of England, man. It shouldn't get this hot. This is ridiculous.
We live by the coast as well. It's normally colder where we are as well, mate. But we're struggling. We're struggling, I think, today. Anyone else who's been struggling, let us know in the comments. We're live tonight. I don't know what you've been doing to keep cool. I was sucking on a Calippo when I was doing a Teams call, which was great. So my team did find it quite funny, to be fair. So I did get away with that one. But I think people have been sticking their feet in buckets of water and all sorts of shit, mate. So I'm sure we'll find out in the comments tonight from the viewers what they've been doing to keep cool. But just before we kick on with the episode, a little bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button. I think we're over about 1,300 and is it 60 or 40 subscribers? Would love you to get us to that 1,500. Obviously, the goal is to get to the 2,000, which is the milestone. Not being greedy, be nice to get there. Smash the bell as well, so you don't miss any of the videos, whether they be the Rumour Has It ones or the live shows that we're doing, like What's Going On as well. So we've got plenty to cover, Mark, haven't we? Because there's been a bit going on. So sadly, we're going to start with a bit of bad news, and that was Newcastle United getting beat this afternoon in Austria. The Hills were alive with the sound of fucking hell in Austria, because we got beat 1-0 by Mainz. It was a bit of a dull game, mate, wasn't it, really?
I think the Hills are alive with the sound of meh. It was meh. I've got to be honest, I didn't watch it live because I was working.
Yes,
but from what I've seen afterwards of the highlights and stuff, and from one of the lads that was actually sitting watching it live, DME, it was boring stuff. It was hot, wasn't it? It's pre-season friendly. It was never going to be exciting.
It wasn't great. Even you, Connor, thanks for joining in, mate. Like I say, we're in the comments tonight, so just jump in, have a crack with us. We'll bounce back with you. We'll love doing a bit of that. I missed the first 10 minutes or so. Like, it crept up on me. I was doing some emails, and then I had a Teams call, and I thought, oh shit. My mate texted me, went, "Oh, you're watching the game?" And I thought, oh shit, I forgot the game was on. So I kind of jumped on and had it on the side as I was talking business at the same time, and one eye on the game. But I didn't really miss a great deal, to be honest, mate. But it wasn't particularly fantastic. But just there was basically two lineups anyway, as often in pre-season games. So just in case you guys didn't catch it, this was the lineup that started the game. So we start with Martin Dubravka in goal. Kieran Trippier was there with Fabian Schär and Botman. A lot of people are looking for that as the kind of centre-back pairing when the season kicks off. Dummett, as the Buzzcock says, where the fuck's he been for the last 10 years? He came out of the cryostasis to play. Bruno, Sean, Joe Litton, Miggy, Fraser, and Chris Wood, who, more on Chris Wood shooting in a minute. But that was the way the game started. And as you say, Mark, it was typical pre-season, wasn't it? Heavy-legged. I mean, mines were a total cut above 1860, mate, but they were much more organised, much more structured, decent players. Didn't mind getting stuck in either. There was a few tackles. I mean, obviously Miggy went down, but Miggy goes down if the wind blows too strong, to be fair, doesn't he? And rolls around for a little bit. But it was, I thought it was a tough opponent, mate. What was your take on it? Did you think that they looked quite structured?
Yeah, I mean, they were always going to look a hell of a lot better than 1860 did on Friday. A couple of leagues above, and they've got some really good players in that squad. So it was always going to be a harder test, whatever. I think it's just when you look at the way it was set up today, there's not many people there. It is boiling hot. You're not wanting to get injuries. But I think you're right. When you touch on some of the tackles and stuff, there was a tasty one on Miggy in the first half. He got wiped out down the right-hand side, which I thought was quite a bold challenge for a pre-season friendly. But like I say, they're a good side. So it was a good challenge, I guess, in that regard. But it's nothing more than fitness. I think at this point, getting the players together, getting some proper group sessions going out there, and some team bonding, and then build it in towards the start of the season.
Yeah, I think Dan said it on Wednesday, didn't he, as well? It's not so much about results. It's more a chance of getting fitness in the legs. But, I mean, obviously results are a great added bonus as well, aren't they? But, I mean, there was a couple of things in the game, I think, that I wouldn't say they were concerning, but I think Chris Wood had a good chance. Again, a kind of I don't want to say bread and butter chance for a centre-forward, but a centre-forward who, I mean, let's be honest with you, Chris Wood hasn't had a great deal of rest he played last season. He was playing for New Zealand, wasn't he? And he was scoring goals. And he gets a chance like that. And I mean, he didn't just miss it; he completely spooned it. It's like a toe punt on a Sunday league game that hit your mate eating his chips and having a can of Coke down the side of the pitch or something. It was really shit. I don't want to be too harsh on Wood because it is pre-season, but he doesn't look like he's getting any better. And a glimpse like that, which is quite worrying. I think Trippier had a good chance with a free kick that just kind of clipped the head and went over the bar. There was a few of the little half chances really. I think Joe Linton had a good chance as well. The keeper saved quite well. Dubravka made a couple of decent saves, but he did obviously concede in the end. And it was a really strange bit of play, wasn't it? Because I think we had a corner, then they broke, and they just kind of ran straight through the team. And it was a tidy little finish mark, wasn't it, past Dubravka? As a keeper, can he do better, mate, when he comes out? Should he do better than that, even in pre-season game?
Yeah, you'd like him. You'd like him to do so again. You've got to remember, it's season. He's not going to go all guns blazing to throw himself out there, but maybe he should be because he's got competition. So there's that element of it. You want to be doing all you can to cement your place in the side, but you can't. I mean, it's a good finish. I mean, it was like watching that goal build up. It was like the Red Sea part, and I think it was just come in and enjoy yourself and just put the ball. Yeah, that's old school Newcastle defending that.
It was. I kind of looked for Steve Bruce at one point. I thought he was in the crowd somewhere. Just they heard the voice and just got distracted. They went, "Oh, that's what we need to do." But there's a good point from BJT in the comments. The passing was good from left to right. He didn't press very well. Bruno seemed to play as a whole midfielder. I agree with that. I mean, I think Bruno's game was stifled a little bit by playing there. I know people have been craving the Paqueta signing, but I think that's a little insight into what happens with Bruno if you do sign a player like Paqueta, where he'll go backwards. And yes, he's good at making challenges and all that. I think he got a free kick given him, which was a bit unnecessary. It was a shoulder barge. There was nothing in it really. The ref was being a bit of a soft cock. But I think I'd rather see Bruno having a bit more of a license to roam because we can see what he can do, Mark, can't we, when he isn't pegged down in a defensive midfield position, mate.
Yeah, exactly. You want him in that position that he was last season. I get bringing in maybe as a more natural forward-looking attacking midfielder for that role, but you've seen what Bruno can do. So I still go back to, I think one of the earlier conversations we probably had was about signing a proper defensive midfielder instead.
Yeah.
And having that role taken up, and if you bring in a ball playing defensive midfielder, you remove the need to bring Bruno back and can play him in that more forward role.
I think we missed out on Basuma big time. I think we should have made a move for him, to be honest with you. But I don't know whether that was clubs were put off about what was going on off the pitch, and Spurs obviously made their move and fair play. But I think after the hour mark, we were 1-0 down, I believe. It all kind of blended into one kind of mediocre pile of meh. But there was huge wholesale changes by Eddie Howe, as there often is in pre-season games. So that was the team that came on after the 60-minute mark, I think. Interesting observation from there, mate. Matty Longstaff wasn't used at all. Neither was Turner Cook, so I just don't know whether they're just there for fitness and for Eddie to look at them in training. He doesn't really trust them in the game yet. Obviously, we've got Benfica and Lisbon next, and then we're coming back for the home pre-season games against Atlanta and Atletico Bilbao before the season kicks off. So I don't know what's going to happen with Matty there. Maybe he'll get some game time against Benfica. Who knows? But it's a big side to throw him in against. But you can see there, obviously, all the players that came on. Shelby had an opportunity, he blazed over the bar. And Wilson had a header as well. He probably should have put away. But I think that the one standout player, Mark, I think in all of that collection there, yet again, was Elliot Anderson. He looked like he wanted to get on the ball. He wanted to make things happen. He was a bit of a spark, a bit of a live wire. I mean, we spoke about the kid before on the channel, mate. Do you think the kid's got a chance, especially if we're struggling in the transfer market? Do you think he's got a good chance?
He's certainly showing signs of it, isn't he? And yeah, if you're not going to go out and spend an absolute fortune now on a player in those sort of positions forward, then you have to utilize him because he's got the ability to be able to shine in the Premier League. Yes, he's done it in League Two, but the signs are there of a player that can definitely do it at a much higher level.
Absolutely. Just one from Geordie Toon for Life. My God, it is hot, mate. You are not wrong, my friend. I've got a fan whirling away in the background. Hopefully nobody can hear it. But Geordie Toon for Life, so obviously got another comment in there as well. This was an interesting observation. A lot of people mentioned this as well. And I even tweeted about this. Now, come back on Wednesday, guys, because we're definitely going to have a chat about this as well, about the frustrations in the transfer window. Me and Mark will touch on a little bit tonight, but we're going to go right into it on Wednesday. But the lack of quality on the right-hand side is really easy to see. Rumours have it that Lyon lowered their asking price for Paqueta. Now, I don't think he's the answer for the right-hand side. Mark, tell me if you disagree or not, but Diaby's the man for me. And we've had this conversation before, and we're going to really get stuck into it on Wednesday with the boys, that I just think we need to pay the fucking bill and just get Diaby in, mate, because that's the guy who's going to transform this side, and I don't understand why we're pissing around, mate.
I don't know whether have they seen something in him that doesn't make them want to pay that fee, or I guess there's an element of are they hanging on and thinking, well, if we can take a step up this season and bring in better next season, so almost just saving some of the money across the next season. It just seems daft though when you've got so many years ahead of Diaby, and he is such a good player, and he's going to have such a high sell-on value as well. I mean, even if you pay 40, 50 million for him, you're going to get money back on top of that in a few years' time if you wanted to sell on. You might not want to. You might just get your money back in terms of revenue from European football. Yeah. It just seems that to me is the ideal choice. But you wonder whether if they're willing to pull away from it, is it just the asking price, or is it something else? And we know this whole ethos on having the right characters. So have they seen something that just doesn't sit right with them, and so they're willing to walk away from it?
I don't know. I think it's more a bit. We'll get more on this on Wednesday. Obviously, we're not going to steal thunder for Wednesday, but I think that it's a bit of this bartering thing with like a bit similar to the Botman thing. I think they don't want to have their pants pulled down by other clubs, and that's fair enough. But when you need the player, you need the player. Do you know what I mean? And I just think we need to look at it. If it's not going to be Diaby, fair enough. Go after a Hudson-Odoi or something like that. But get it done and get it done quick. Some comments coming in, Connor saying Newcastle should have been all over. Is it check the Corey? The Palace got, that was a good shot. He was linked a couple of times, Connor, to be fair, mate, but I just don't think there was any real substantial truth to that. I don't think that it was just paper talk. There's that Yao Paulina as well that Fulham got. Yeah, both great defensive midfielders, absolutely, mate. I've got Sean saying Brogues is going to go to West Ham. Thought we were keen, apparently not. Again, with that one, I think that's potentially you snooze, you lose. Maybe I still think this Ekitike deal, Mark, bring you in here if you agree or not. This Ekitike deal is really thrown a spanner in the works, I think, mate, because I think they thought they had him in the bag and they stepped away from other targets. I think because they stepped away, other clubs stepped up.
Yeah, I guess if you kind of focus on one target, you allow others to look at others. I think there's a report that says Brogues has been sent home from the Chelsea tour. So, but does that have to do with that potential move to West Ham? And I think there's a couple that West Ham have been linked with, as well as Newcastle as well. And I suppose there's an argument there to say, well, they can offer a little bit more this season than Newcastle can, so that would possibly be a selling point, especially for players going there, and it's in London. But I think for Newcastle point of view, maybe it is just they have just let. It's hard to say, harsh to say it. Have they just let the ball slip a little bit with it by kind of almost going all in on Ekitike and hanging around for that deal as long as possible and watching others slip by?
Yeah, Connor's saying that he thinks the Broja thing is he wants to play in London, as you said, and he thinks that Moyes is guaranteeing more game time. You're probably right. Jory Toon for Life is saying that Paqueta can play on the right-hand side as an attacking midfielder. Can't say no to 34 million because he's Bruno's friend. He's an excellent player. He is an excellent player, mate. And if there's any truth of getting them, I think he would vastly improve the squad. I just hope it doesn't compromise Bruno's game. And I love this comment from Mark Hillary. We don't need defensive midfielders. Jesus, pal. Attack. I like your style, mate. Thanks for tuning in, buddy. But yeah, so we're going to get stuck in the transfers a little bit later in the episode. But I suppose the doom and gloom there, mate. It's only a 1-0 defeat. We've got another game coming up soon. The doom and gloom. It's only a 1-0 defeat. We've got other games coming up. We don't need to worry too much about it. But we're going to move from this talk about defeat to a bit of good news. Obviously, we've had an appointment. So we have a new CEO, which is it Darren Eales from Atlanta. So is it Eales? Is it
Darren Eales? That's the Heat. Atlanta United.
Atlanta United. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I mean, just a little bit of info on him, I suppose. So he spent time previously at Spurs. He did oversee Spurs' new transition at that massive training facility, which, if anyone's ever seen the Amazon documentary thing, is massively impressive. He speaks very well. He obviously went over to Atlanta when it was a brand new franchise. And he took them from that to the most lucrative franchise in the MLS. They obviously won a cup with our very own Bruno playing there as well. There was a comment right at the start for BJT. He was in the comments early tonight, and he said that he'll remain with Atlanta through till August 8th and return to the English League on August 22nd. I believe.
Did you mean Miggy rather than Bruno there, by any chance?
Oh, sorry, did I say Bruno? I meant Miggy. I beg your pardon. Sorry, that's the heat getting to me. So yes, I did mean Miggy.
God, it's all falling apart.
I've got Bruno on the brain. But yeah, so obviously he's going to stay with Atlanta to kind of wrap up loose ends, as many people would do when they move jobs, until August, which is a bit frustrating. But he's going to take over the day-to-day running of the club from Lee Charnley. And there was something that Murdad said, which I thought was quite a cool little comment there. So he said, we're building a skyscraper, so we need to make sure our foundations are solid, is what he said there about this new appointment. So it's quite exciting, mate. I mean, he's obviously got a lot of football pedigree, speaks really, really well. What's your take on it, mate?
Well, if you look at it this way, he went into a project at the very beginning with Atlanta, didn't he? He went from a club that was newly formed, and he built them from the ground up as the president. And American sports teams and presidents and CEOs and things work very differently to the way ours do. So he's got hands-on. He doesn't sit at the head of a board table, doing next to nothing and just coining it in. He is properly hands-on. He's influential in the hiring of management, of player acquisition, staff as well. I think he was pretty influential in obviously the managers coming into the club. So he's got proper hands-on football experience, and I think that's what you absolutely need, and especially at the start of a project. So it's a very, very promising appointment, I think, when you consider the lack of football nous that's been at the club for the last 14 years or so. This is absolutely. You add this to Dan Ashworth as well, and it's two very, very clever appointments.
Absolutely, I think these guys as well will help with the future of Newcastle United. The present is one thing, which we're always concerned about, the transfer window and getting players in, addressing the balance in weak areas, etc. But the future of the club has to be sustainable. You look at Manchester City, all the infrastructure they put in the academy. They wouldn't got the likes of Foden coming through and guys like that if they hadn't done that in the past. So, that's something that we need to do. And hopefully, getting these guys in, will absolutely do that. Just looking at some of the comments there as well before we move on to the next section. So we've got BJT saying, it seems that when a player has been linked to Newcastle, other clubs seem to jump on it. There is a bit of that. I think we're probably, because we're being a bit more ambitious as well, we're fishing in a market where players are attract interest from other clubs too, whereas in the Ashley days, we got the leftovers, didn't we? Really, the scraps, scrapes that nobody wanted.
It does. That also doesn't help when you are linked to absolutely every player going in the world. There's always going to be some crossover.
I know. It's almost like some channels do rumours every day. God, how about that?
Don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly.
You just once and for all say, we don't make this stuff up. We are just talking about ones that are reported out there. It's not that we're going, oh, look, there's a player. We have contemplated doing a couple that we think would be good signings, so not really rumours, but players that were linked maybe in the past have gone quiet and then haven't gone anywhere since, and there is the potential for them to be potential signings later on. So that may be something coming up.
Yeah, definitely. If anyone wants to drop any players in the comments here tonight, we can maybe take them away and have a little think about it and mark and bash up his wonderful stats. The comment there from Mark, can we have a word about Jacob Murphy? I'll give you one word about Jacob Murphy, Mark. Shite. That's the word. I think he's absolutely piss. I'm surprised he's still at the club. He wouldn't be at the club if I had anything to do with it, mate. I think he's fucking dreadful. Dan Wales, our very own Dan, loves Jacob Murphy. He's the president of the Jacob Murphy fan club, but for me, he's absolutely shite. I'd have got rid a long time ago. This is why we need to improve the squad. even for the squad players like that, they need to be much better. He runs and he runs and he runs, but he can't do nothing else. And pretty similar to Miggy Almiron as well, to be fair. So Sean Taylor is saying we need to build up a 6-team in 3 transfer windows, or top 6 teams, sorry, mate, in 3 transfer windows. Otherwise, our best players will leave. I agree with that, Sean. I mean, like Bruno is never shy to say he wants to play Champions League, does he, Mark? And, if he sees you struggling to get these kind of players in, he'll start to maybe have a little bit of a wander, as will Botman and people like that, in the next year or two, if we're struggling to get these players in. And Jacob Murphy's still in the fucking squad.
Yeah, I mean, 3 transfer windows is probably tricky to do. The finances are definitely there.
There should be.
Yeah, absolutely. But you've also got to think where you're starting from as well. You are really starting at the ground floor of this. But there are players now in place that you build around. So maybe 3 transfer windows isn't unrealistic in that regard. It's tough, but it's not unrealistic. And yeah, I mean, you could go all out and throw an absolute fortune at a load of players and hope you hit on them. But I do think they're just doing this the right way and targeting the right players. And if you can build 3 in one window, 3 in another, that sort of level, move some of the players on as well, then that squad is just going to get better and better and better over those 3 transfer windows. And you do have a side that is more than able to challenge at that level.
Absolutely. It's I think it's an interesting debate. We're going to get right into it on Wednesday, guys. Make sure you tune in. It's 7:00 on Wednesday. We're going to go a little bit later than normal. So 7:00 Wednesday, we are going to get stuck into this, the element of, is it time to splash the cash in these key areas? We've got different opinions on it within the squad, so make sure you tune into that, definitely. The next subject we're going to get into is quite an interesting one, because we have got a great comment for this coming in, which is a Leeds fan. Good evening to you, Robbie. Leeds fan here. What are your thoughts on Jack Harrison? Well, funny you say that, mate. We are going to talk about Jack the lad right now, seamlessly.
I don't know. We've done this a couple of times now. It's like we planned this. So thanks, Robbie. Good
thanks, Robbie. You tee them up, we'll smash them out, mate. So yeah, I mean, the transfer update, I suppose the transfer update there isn't much of a transfer update. We're struggling, we're stalling. We've mentioned Diaby, we've mentioned the likes of Alexander Isak and all these other players, strikers-wise, that we're struggling with. But Jack Harrison seems to be a name that's getting louder and louder and louder. We did a rumour has it video on him. He's a very talented player, Robbie. I think he's got massive potential as well of being an even better player than he is now. He's left-footed, Mark, isn't he? So he doesn't sit on that right-hand side of our front 3, does he? Is he someone that can challenge Maxi or back up for Maxi, or what do you think?
Well, if you're going to go, because we talked about Diaby playing from the right-hand side, now he's left-footed. Yeah. So the balance which you talk about in terms of a Newcastle front 3 would be Maxi left-sided, right-footed striker, left-footed, right-sided player.
Which could be Jack Harrison. Yeah,
Jack Harrison could fit that mold very well. Goal scorer, very, very up and down the field. He works very hard, can play all the way along that left-hand side. I guess I think there's been chatter that he might be reverted to something of a left wing back at times this season, but I don't know what Robbie thinks about that. I had heard a couple of people suggest that might happen, so he can play a few positions in that regard. But I think if he's going to come in, especially for that right hand side, and be the player that can cut in from the right and provide a goal threat from there. He'd be great at it.
Yeah, Robbie's saying, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you very much, Robbie. And he's saying Jesse wants to keep him. I'm not surprised. And then we've got Mark's also chipping in saying Harrison's a very good player, technically gifted with the ball at his feet. I think it's a smashing play. He scored a brilliant goal against us as well, didn't he? VJT saying rumours of 30 million for Harrison is expensive, in my opinion. Yeah, I think this is inflation of football, isn't it? It's kind of the going rate, sadly, isn't it? Jack Grealish is worth 100 million quid. Then fucking hell, that sets a bar to a whole new level, doesn't it? I like Harrison. He might not have the skills of Maxi, but he'd be more consistent and score more goals along with assists, in my opinion. I totally agree with that, to him for life. I think he would bring a lot more goals. If you look at Miggy and Fraser, they don't score enough goals. Maxi doesn't score enough goals, Mark, does he either, to be fair? So I think Harrison could bring you that. in that kind of area of the pitch. Robbie doesn't like the idea of him as a left back. There you go, mate. Yeah, that tells you that.
Well, look, in terms of goal scoring threat, look at the last 2 seasons for him in the Premier League. He's got what? He's 8 goals in each season.
That's a good return.
He does it is, and he's quite high in assists as well. I can't remember what the figures were for it, but it's I think it's something like 6 assists per season as well. So that he's pretty consistent in that regard. He
was missing a striker. Missing a striker for how long?
Exactly.
Because Bamford was out for God knows how long. Yeah, Mark's in the comments again saying that Harrison's a better with the ball than Maxi. That's my opinion. Maxi likes to show off his brilliance 10% of the time. I do agree with that. We've had numerous conversations, Mark, on the show of him about Maxi and the frustrations that he has as a player. I mean, even pre-season, I think Craig Hope chinned him saying running down, blind alleys and stuff like that again. And I watch him today, and he beats a man, and he's done the guy, and he goes back to beat him again, and he goes back to beat him again, and he loses the ball. You think you don't need to beat the guy 3 times, Maxi. Beat him once, get across the box. Whereas I think Harrison's a bit more direct that way, and he'll beat the guy, get it across the box.
It's efficiency with the ball, isn't it? Use it well. It's all well and good beating somebody 2, 3, 4 times. It looks great, but if you don't do anything with it afterwards, what's the point? No. If you can beat a man and put a ball in, it's using the ball well. Go back to the likes of Beckham. Couldn't beat a man to save his life. Give him half a yard and use the ball well. I'm not going to compare the two of them, but if you can use it like that, then I'd far rather you did something like that than put in 3 or 4 step overs and beat 2 and 3 men and then run down, as you said, a blind alley and lose it.
Or just randomly dance in the middle of fucking nowhere like he did against Palace that time. And which I still can't get my head around that. I really can't, no matter how many times I try and think about it. And Robbie's saying he's been delivering great balls in the box all season. We had nobody to finish. I must admit, you stick Callum Wilson in the box when this lad's whipping balls, and I think Wilson would be licking his chops because I think you get a hell of a lot of goals. I mean, to be fair to Maxi, when Wilson came back, he did get assists. He did cross the ball. He did put a ball in for Wilson. And he did say, didn't he, in that famous interview that he did, that you surround me with better players and I'll get more assists. So it's an interesting one. I think, as you rightly say, Mark, I think Harrison coming in could play on the right-hand side, cutting inside on that left foot. He could put pressure under Maxi if Maxi has one of his dips in form. We've said this numerous times. I think every Newcastle podcast has said this. It's a huge season for Alan St-Maximin next season, a massive season. He really needs to step up and do something, because if he doesn't, he could really be out on his arse, couldn't he, mate? I think in this setup.
There's an element of that. I think that's almost deja vu, because I'm almost sure we had exactly the same conversation last summer, and possibly he needs to get to a point where he's becoming consistent. I absolutely love watching him. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, he's smashing player.
He needs consistency. He needs to produce end results now, and you don't want to be that player that's a crowd pleaser but does absolutely nothing with it, because you're almost useless to the side at that point. Absolutely.
Robbie's saying that Wilson would love Jack Harrison. I bet he would. BJTC in Leeds bought Harrison for 11 million, but City inserted a sell-on clause with the deal and tied him at 20% of the profits made. See, that's smart business, though, isn't it? That's smart business. That's the kind of thing that we should be doing with players. Like, we spoke about Matty Longstaff, didn't we, on Wednesday, that if you get rid of Matty and he goes to the Championship and becomes a really good player, and he's sold on to another Premier League team, or if we buy him back, then we should get a cut of the fee, really, shouldn't we? That's how the business should be done now, and hopefully the business will be done like that, mate.
It's clever business for when you've got young players like that. They're very good at, a little bit like Barcelona in that regard, that they add in these clauses that they're either got first refusal or they've got sell-on clauses for these players, so that the money can come in that way.
Speaking of Barcelona, how the fuck can they do what they do? Just this little sidestep away from Newcastle for a split second. Like, if this was credit safe, their score would be like 110 out of 700 or something. And they're going out and buying fucking Lewandowski and Rafinha for like nearly 90 million quid. I just cannot get my head around how they're allowed to do that under FFP. Can I get my head around it?
It's only 6 months since they said they needed 500 million just to keep going.
They were going to go bust. They were going to go bust as a club.
So how on earth can you go out and spend? The interesting thing is that they're going out for these players. I don't think Lewandowski is sorted. But La Liga won't let them register players. until they've got their wage bill sorted out. So even the fact that they've sort of signed Rafinha, don't think they can register him yet. A little bit like they had the problem with Aguero. So they couldn't register him until they got people off the wage bill. So unless they restructure stuff. I think that's been a big thing. They've restructured debt.
Is that when Aguero signed and said, I can't wait to play with Messi? Then they got rid of Messi. That was fucking brilliant.
Just to say,
like Mark's implying all favours for the main men in football. I couldn't be surprised me if that was the case. They owe De Jong 17 million yet. I mean, I think that's why they're trying to get rid of him at Manchester United. BJT is saying they've sold some of the TV revenue rights. Jory 2 and Fly saying they sold 25% of the TV rights. Wow, for 500 million. What a gamble!
There's 500 million to save them. Yeah, I mean, well, you look, they were allowed to do their own deals, weren't they? Like you know, them in Madrid and Atletico, they can make their own TV rights deals. They weren't broken in with the rest of La Liga, so they get more and more money, whereas the smaller La Liga sides just struggle to bring in any sort of revenue from TV deals.
This is the problem. It's like Scottish football, isn't it? Pretty much. La Liga is just a sexier version of Scottish football, really. But this is one of the things we want to talk about. Well, it's one of the things we want to talk about. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we're going to talk about Wednesday, really, you know, though, if they can get away with that, yes, I know they've just done that. But, you know, like Mark said, that 500 million was to keep them afloat. Do you know what I mean? So it's just absolutely mental. Robbie's saying there's a Leeds fan. Who knows if we'll ever see a penny for Rafinha? I mean, that's just awful, isn't it? You know, he kept you up. Great player. For you, you know, big transfer fee that should be reinvested back in the squad. But it's such a shame that, you know, Leeds might not see that, and Jesse Marsh will be under pressure if he doesn't get somebody in to replace Rafinha's magic. You know, unless the young man can step up. I like him. What's his name? The young lad. Oh shit, man. The who's the young skillful player at Leeds? The young. He come in last season, did he? Robbie will know. I can't remember.
Are we talking about Joe Gelhardt?
That's it, Joe Gelhardt. Yeah, I like him. He looks a really good little player. I think he'll be big for them next season. I really do.
He's I think he was massive for my FM teams a couple of seasons ago when I was saying he was brilliant.
Anything to get your FM team in there, but yeah. So another seamless segue now. So we're still going to kind of stick with the transfer window to a fashion. We all know we're massively frustrated by the search for a striker. This takes us into this kind of next subject here. Now, just before we do this, we want to make abundantly clear that both Mark and I and everybody in the Evermore podcast absolutely love Callum Wilson. He's unbelievable. He's a brilliant striker. His goal return when fit is ridiculous, but it's the when fit bit that's the worry. Now, Eddie Howe was saying that the argument, or the article, I think, was from Craig Hope in the Mail. Some people accused it of being a little bit clickbaity because it didn't say anywhere in the article we weren't going to sign a striker. But I think Eddie Howe insinuated that, you know, we need 15 to 20 goals off Callum. You know, we want to have him fit for the season. And obviously the strap line was a gamble on Callum Wilson's fitness. Huge gamble for me, Mark, and I think a gamble that you can't take, to be honest with you.
If you don't have anybody to back him up, it is huge, because we know that he spends an awful lot of time out. Now, it might not happen, and the gamble might pay off if that is indeed what it is. But if he goes out for any length of time, like he did last season, you are left with Chris Wood. And they are just not, I'm stating the absolute obvious here and going to sound like a right knacker. They're not the same player, are they? I mean, they don't move the same. They don't make the same runs. They
don't look the same. They don't look the same either, Mark.
No, funny enough, no. You know, I hadn't noticed that before. But you need somebody that's going to be able to back him up well, and make, you know, keep a little bit of continuity in the side. I think Chris Wood's good for some occasions. He's not good for starting every game. He's going to be next to useless in games. He showed that last season. He's great in some. But you need, if you're going to play to Callum Wilson's strengths, then you need somebody to back him up well. Allow him to, and we talked about this before, allow him to have time off. Take him off after 60 minutes if things are going well. Give him half an hour's rest here and there, or whatever. Don't start him in games if you can get away with it, because you protect him, because he is a goal machine. And he is going to guarantee you goals, but you have to keep him fit. And if you don't, it's a huge worry.
And look what he does as well in the big games. You know, the Arsenals, the the Manchester United, the Spurs. It doesn't phase him. He doesn't go shrinking. He sticks his chest out even more, and he gets right stuck in it. He wants the ball. He wants the goals. Even if you were to rest him, with all due respect to the teams in and around you that you think you've got enough to beat them with, you wouldn't maybe need to bring them in from the start. You could obviously bring them on off the bench, maybe 20 minutes to go or whatever, and he could get you that goal to save you, draw or win the game or whatever. But without that depth, as you rightly say, it's a massive gamble to rely on him being fit at 30 years old all season or most of the season when he struggled with injury so bad. We did stats on Wilson a while ago, and I think we said it was 60% of the games he was fit for, Mark, or something like that.
It's probably still around that, given the amount of games that he's missed this season. Yeah. But he does miss an awful lot of time, and effectively, if you're only going to have him fit for 25, 26 games a season, it's not enough for a side that wants to now be in that upper echelons of the league. Have a striker that can only play 2/3 of the season just isn't enough. No. If he stays fit, great. Like I say, we love him. We think he's, if he is fit and firing, you don't want anybody else on that side really. Absolutely. But that is a worry. That it really is. If you can't bring anybody else into, not to take over for him, but just to back him up.
Absolutely. Even the U2 trolls, he's got a comment in there as well. We need to get a goal scorer and a right winger, in our opinion, 100%. We've got another comment there from BJT. It's not as though that when Wilson's out injured in the short term, far from it. Yeah, he's injured for such a long time because he gets really bad knocks. And I've talked about, does he have to adapt his game, Mark, haven't I? Does he have to change the way he plays? Shearer did it. Owen did it. I know Owen's a swear word for Newcastle fans, but Owen, yeah. But if you think about Owen, just forget him being a complete shithouse, right? He had to adapt his game because he couldn't do that burst of pace anymore, and he became a predator fox in the box, and he still scored goals. Does Wilson need to maybe change the way he plays a little bit? Do they need to work on that? I don't want to lose the rawness that he has and the power and all that, but he needs to watch what he's doing. He's going to get so many injuries. The Mark's saying in the comments as well, if we were struggling to get a winger, play more narrow with Paqueta behind the striker, even Chris Wood would see a lot of the ball. He'd still fucking fluff his chances, mate, I think, to be honest with you, but he would see a lot more of the ball.
I'm not sure that Chris Wood has the movement to play with somebody like Paqueta in behind him.
He'd be so far behind the play, wouldn't he, mate? He'd be so far
behind. My thing with that, and I'm not going to compare the two, but if you're going to play with a 9 and a 10, if you think Henri Bergkamp sort of style, you're not going to get movement like that sort of, like you would from Wilson with a 10 in behind him. It's just not the same sort of player. You need height, you need width, and balls coming into the box for Wood to challenge it, and then maybe knock down to somebody that's in and around the box. Like a Paqueta, maybe he's in that regard, but you have to play differently.
Absolutely. Even on you too, Jimmy. Cheers for joining in, buddy. We've got BJT saying Wilson looked tired. He was blowing. I think he was blowing, to be fair. I quite like this comment by Trolls. What about trying Anderson on the right wing? We talked about Anderson earlier on. And I think the kid's got something. I think in the preseason games thus far, he's probably been a standout player to me in terms of somebody that's made you go, well, actually, he looks all right, him. So I think if he keeps going the way he's going, mate, I think he's got a good chance, hasn't he?
Yeah, like we said before, I think he's pushing now, isn't he? He's showing that he's got the ability to play with the big boys now. He's done his time on loan. He's done very well. I think it's time to come back in and start to really get a foothold in the side. If you're not going to go out and sign somebody, why not give him a go over the next few games and see what you've really got? Because you've got some big teams coming up. And if you're, playing for the season now rather than just fitness, start to properly look at him as an option down that right-hand side.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting as well because we spoke about this on the Room Has It as well. And I know we talked about, I think it was in the comments on possibly the podcast on Wednesday, the likes of someone like Belotti available on a free transfer, but that Monaco move didn't come off. We should be all over that, really, shouldn't we? I mean, he's a natural goal scorer. He could come in and fill in that spot for Wilson. You could alternate between the two. I mean, why are Newcastle not all over that, mate? Is it his age? Is it, are they looking for a particular type of player?
I don't think it's it. I know they've looked very much at the younger market in terms of players, but you need some experience in that as well. For somebody like Belotti, is it game time? Is it the lure of European football that other sides can give you? You know that Callum Wilson's going to be your number one choice. Is somebody going to come in at that level and want to sit as second fiddle? And I'm not sure they will. I think that's why they're focused on the younger strikers, because they know they can come in and build them up and groom them into the player that they want them to be. If you're not going to get that from Belotti or Zapata or somebody like that. But you've
gamble that though, Mark, isn't it? To gamble that.
It is. I mean, to be fair, if looking at that standard of player on a free transfer, there is, I would be all over it. To me, it's a no-brainer if you can sell him on coming in and playing. He's a terrific player.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, mate. Jolly Tune for Life saying about Anderson's a massive gap between the games we play compared to league games. So Anderson would need another year under his belt, in his opinion. Yeah, I can kind of see that as well. But I think he might almost, I don't want to do the lad down here, but he might almost end up in the squad almost by default with a combination of transfer frustrations if we can't get someone like a Diaby or Paqueta in or something like that. And then also because of his age, he doesn't really take up a squad place either. So Eddie Howe might think, do you know what, we'll keep him in the squad. If he's looking bright and he's looking lively, we'll keep him on the bench. Impact player, he could come on and he could make something happen. I remember when Bruce brought him on, and it was at the Cup against Arsenal, the FA Cup, and we were all like, Jesus Christ, who's this kid? He had pace, he was interested, he was making runs, he was making movements, he was, passing it, moving it. And compared to everybody else on the pitch, he was lethargic as anything. He looked like a real kind of spark. And I think that's the kind of thing we want from a young player. And you don't see it with the other young players. I mean, even Matty, I'm a huge fan of Matty, but you don't see it with Matty. You see it with Elliot Anderson. Do you know what I mean? You really see it. So,
yeah, maybe that comment is right. Maybe he does need another year. But if you can give him enough minutes this season, then maybe that season can be spent at the club rather than elsewhere. And it's learning all the time under the manager. It's not being under somebody else, and it's getting integrated into that squad properly.
No, I totally agree with you. Just a comment there from BJT. We're going to get stuck into that on Wednesday, mate. That's one of the topics as well about Lascelles keeping the club captaincy. I think it's a bit pointless, but we're really going to get stuck into that Wednesday, Mark, aren't we? In a lot more detail with the boys. We've got opinions on it.
I think that's a one-word answer, pointless. It genuinely makes no sense to me whatsoever.
It does. It's weird. But yeah, come back on Wednesday, mate. We're going to get right stuck into that. We've got PK back from his COVID bed. So he'll be full of beans, hopefully. And we should have young Dan coming to join us again with me and Mark. So it should be a good show. Mark's just put a comment in there, actually. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's awful, mate. God, get well soon. Absolutely, mate. Well said.
I think that's really recently come out as well, just within the last.
That's the lad who was at West Ham, wasn't it? And he went back. Was he went Ajax? Was Ajax? He went to, where did he go?
Did he go to Ajax? Yes, he went to Ajax.
It was Ajax.
He's literally just signed for Dortmund as well. So I mean, if anything. Speedy recovery, man. That's pretty shit.
Let's hope he had the same. Was it Eric Abidal at Barca had the same thing, didn't he? And he come back from it. So let's hope the same thing is is the same there. Mark saying, you need me on this show. I got some good banter, fellas. Hey, drop us a DM, mate. We might grab you on, Mark. Don't you worry about that, buddy. We're always looking for additions to the squad. BJT saying there, I think we currently have many in the midfield position. Anderson should go on loan. Yeah, I see that, mate. I do see that. I think with Anderson, for me, I get your opinion on this, Mark, as well. For me, with Anderson, if you bring in another player, if you bring in a Diaby or a Callum Hudson-Odoi or something like that, right, or Jack Harrison, then Anderson goes out on loan, I think. If you don't bring those players in, I think he stays as part of the squad.
Yeah, I think if you're going to bring somebody in at that level, then I think you have to get him out and get him game time. If you're not going to have anybody of that ilk come in, then I would keep him around and give him give him time, get him learning. Like I said before, in the system that you want to carry forward, it makes more sense to have him there. But if you can bring a Diaby, you can bring in a Hudson-Odoi, something like that, he's not going to get those minutes.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see. We'll soon see what happens next. I think these moves have to happen soon. Ginger Hoskins saying the problem is you have the modern game heavily involved inside forward. Barcelona, Madrid started to look at it. Liverpool, City, Madrid. Yeah, all the front three average 15 goals. Minimums to get Wilson out. I totally agree with that, mate. We are so threadbare for goals on that side. The very fact that the defensive midfielder we signed in January finished our second top highest goal scorer. Because he just happens to be mint as well. But that shows you the complete barren lack of goals in that team, isn't it? Even Shelby, man, like Shelby pisses me off because we're gonna get into him on Wednesday as well about this apparent new deal that's gonna get triggered. But Shelby should be, for me, getting 8-9 goals a season. With his shooting from range, he just doesn't do it. You know, like where's the incentive for these guys to even get goals from midfield anymore, Mark?
No, it's a funny one. I think Shelby's a victim of being pushed further back, isn't he? So he's not in those positions enough. He's one that I just don't think certainly at this level, he's not right for that position. He's done a very good job. I just don't think you can move forward with him, certainly not as a regular player. Me
neither.
He then takes up a very valuable squad space, and I think certainly at the moment, I'm not saying get rid of him now, but if you're then going to keep him hanging around for another season beyond that, I'm not sure that makes a whole lot of sense.
No, but again, we'll get back into that on Wednesday. But one thing about goals from midfield, it was nice to see Sean Longstaff get a couple of goals in a couple of games, and I think if he can bring that to his game next season, Sean's capable of that. You know, and I think he could chip in with a good, 6 to 7 goals a season from midfield, Sean. I think if he gets in the right position, hopefully we can get him back on track to kind of where he was previously before he got the injury and got bruised. We've got Wayne saying he's just heard about Isak on my phone, 70-odd million quid. That's a joke. What about Diaby and Paqueta? Absolutely, 70 million quid for Isak. Not when you've had 6 goals last season, mate. I think they're taking a living piss asking for that. We covered that in the Room Has a video as well, I think, as well. BJT's just saying not enough creative players in the team. He's got a good point there, I think. I've got to get that. That's fucking brilliant, Jimmy. Well done, Jimmy. Well done. I've seen the best one I've seen about Shelby when he had an absolute stinker. I think it was on Twitter. Somebody just put, Shelby looks like he's playing in his jeans. And I thought it was the best fucking line I've heard. I was fucking pissing myself. It was absolutely superb. Well, we've got here the comments as well. We've got Jody Toonfly, 2 ball-playing centre-backs and 2 good midfielders. No need for Shelby playing so deep now. Absolutely, mate. I just think we don't need him in there, to be honest with you. Just I'm just not, I can't see the logic, but we're going to get into this on Wednesday. Yeah, waste of time. Shelby smashing long balls to Murphy. You see Murphy should play golf or tennis. I think he missed the hole, to be honest with you, Mark, if he played either. He hit the net or missed the hole. Ginger Hoskins saying, it's like our youth. We can sign whoever we want to. The facilities are trained staff to bring through Wonder Kids. I expect 50 million quid a year on youth and have advanced facilities. Absolutely, mate. That's what we're hoping the new CEO does, Mark, isn't it? Is to get that right.
That's got to be part of the job, hasn't it? It is now building that infrastructure to start to bring in the next level of, for want of a better phrase, and I'm going to go back to FM Wonder Kids coming through. That's what you want. You want these players to come through and be the future, and you can't do that with the facilities that are there. So bringing the likes of Darren Eales in to come in and build the infrastructure and run the club like that. Exactly what they've done at Atlanta is build from the ground up. The other interesting thing, just to flip back to him as well, is just think about, they went through a process of going into a new stadium as well. So wonder whether that's just on the cards with that. And I forgot that before.
I think that's definitely going to be something in the future, May. I think so.
Possibly.
With the capacity issues. Look at the pre-season games. Selling out season tickets, 30,000 in the queue, only 10,000 available. I think this will come in the years to come, but I think it's going to be the argument over success on the pitch versus the kind of legacy of St James's Park, and it's going to be a question I think a lot of fans are going to have to ask themselves. Robbie said Shelby has skill and vision, but we can't get him down the pitch. No doubt about that. This is an interesting question, Trolls, and do you know what? It's something that I think we're going to ask on the Wednesday night show, mate. if Howe wants Shelby for a longer period, he's starting to worry about Howe. I wouldn't go so far as to say I'm going to worry about Howe, but I do wonder why, as Mark said there. That's probably the right question I would use. And he did love your milk comment, Jimmy, there. So good on you, trolls. Then we got Robbie saying build from the bottom up, Bielsa style. Oh, I bet you missed that guy, mate. Bielsa. You were shy at the back, but my God, you were exciting watching going forward, mate, weren't you? We used to love watching Leeds, Mark, didn't we, under Bielsa? It was like, oh.
Yeah, I mean, you just never. It was just a thriller minute, wasn't it? Watching it was.
It's like Keegan football, wasn't it?
Kind of, yeah, but just the work rate of those players is utterly phenomenal, and they were just so exciting to watch. You never really knew whether they were going to go out and beat somebody or got absolutely hammered. It must have been a nightmare to watch at times, I guess, as a fan, but as a neutral, it was brilliant.
Well, our mate Phil's a Leeds fan, and he did say that sometimes you're having palpitations watching the football, but he absolutely loved Bielsa ball. So we've got there. Ginger Hoskins is saying from the start of the window, the forward line was pointed out by Eddie Howe. Now our attacking line is less than 20 goals. Get the scouts out, looking for the next Vinicius Junior type. Absolutely, mate. It's going to be really disappointing. Let's call a spade, right? When we went to this window, we called it the most important window, Mark, didn't we, of probably the club's history, right? And the key area of strength was backup for Wilson. Now, regardless of the fact that he come on and he did well in the season, he reminded us all how class he was, we still needed cover and we still needed somebody to push him for that starting berth, keep him on his toes. And I think they threw all their eggs in the Ekitike basket. And I think that's just completely fucked the whole plans. I really do.
Yeah, as I said before, when you go all out for a player in that regards, you let others move and you miss out on some of the other potential targets. And then those players sometimes think, well, I'm second fiddle because I know you've gone all out on player X or whatever. It is difficult. I get exactly why you want Ekitike. I think he would have been perfect. But you have to move quickly now to move on to the next one, and I think it's probably going to be somebody of that level in a young, quick striker, plenty of movement, good finishing ability. Like I said before, you need somebody to back Wilson up, and the worry is now that you've let others go ahead. You've seen the Broza links to West Ham. You've seen the Calimundo ones, the links to Leeds as well. Yeah. So those players now getting out of the grasp a little bit, and then you start to think, well, if we're now going to get back into that as the club, if they're now going to start looking at those players, are we now going to have to pay the Newcastle tax, which is always the thing that the club want to avoid having to do in the first place, and they've played hardball with some of these deals, but by joining the party late. Are they now going, well, we're going to have to pay a little bit more to get some of these players in?
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about on Wednesday, definitely. Maggot to the comments, evening, Maggot. Wood needs bin in, and he said Almiron and Shelby he'd been into, and Troll agrees with him. Even in the UK, he's in the comments as well. BJT is saying, this is a quote, I think this must be to Shelby, speaking after Newcastle's 1-0 defeat today. I've got 3 games to get another year, and hopefully I should do that this season. I mean, I'd be a bit worried if I didn't. I mean, to be fair, I'd be worried if he didn't play 3 games as well, because he will play 3 games. There's no question about that. But the point, I suppose, we're going to ask, more detail on Wednesday. We're touching on it tonight as well, is that, as Mark said there, is he worth another year? Is him having another year going to halt the progress of Longstaff or, Sean or Matty or whoever, or, do you know what I mean, or prevent us bringing in another player? We were linked to Tillemans, Ward-Prowse, guys like that. Are we not going after these players because we're going to give Shelby another year? That just seems like no sense to me whatsoever. That I'm sorry, but I can't get on board with that. As much as I agree with the new owners and everything else. Ginger Hoskins is saying, look at City. They went out and signed. Is it? What's that, Mark? Is it
It's just cakey.
Kiki. Where's the
Kiki.
lynch man when you need? He's away working the bastard. Kiki. The next Neymar. The next Neymar. Read down the kid. Nashville's supposed to be the South American man. That's a good point, mate. I mean, City must have scouts everywhere, mate. There must be. I mean, Christ. They're probably lurking in your bushes now, watching your kids playing keep-ups in the garden. We'll have him. So you got Wayne Matson saying Leeds had Boye, Viduka, Harry Kuehl, speed. The rest were great. Back then when O'Leary had them, yeah, you're right, mate. They had a great side then, but again, like Manchester United, they got so fortunate. Had that batch coming through at once, didn't they? With Ian Hart and Smith and Kuehl and Bowyer and Woodgate and all these guys, they all came through together in the same class, same as the class of '92. Newcastle haven't had that for years, and as much as we love him, you can kind of blame Keegan for it because he binned it all. You know, we missed out on Carrick and guys like that because he binned everything, didn't he, Mark?
Yeah, well, I mean, there was the reserves got shelved at that point because they wanted to focus on the quick style of football that Keegan wanted to play with the short grass, totally out of the reach of some of the players that were in the youth sides, the reserves then. So it basically got binned as a result, and it's all focused on the first team, which blind to the rest of the club at that point. And as much as Keegan did a monumentally brilliant job at Newcastle, there's kind of a bit of a legacy there, isn't it? And it's just was a bit of an odd choice to really get rid of that.
It wasn't. It seemed a bit short-sighted, as much as we love Kiki, but he was very KK. Bloody hell, I'm saying it now. Kiki. We love KK, but he was very much a man of the now. He wasn't a man of the future, I think, and that was probably the issue I think that we had. Maggot saying Shelby can't play with Longstaff. You're right, mate. I mean, they turn slower than the North Shields ferry. Them two, bless them, don't they? We've got Ginger Hoskins said doesn't think there is a Newcastle tax, Mark. It's just not being able to offer Europe. You have to pay more. I think that's a fair point, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. I suppose it's an obvious answer, isn't it, to always go Newcastle tax because of the money side of things.
Yeah, it's easy to do.
You almost argue that the fact that you don't have European football and have to pay a little bit more is the Newcastle tax. It's just a different version of it. But I guess if you are, like I said, if you're going to join the party late for some of these transfers, you might have to dip into the pocket just a little bit more to try and beat some of the other teams that are already involved in discussions.
Absolutely. We should get Ginger Hoskin on for scouting. Eddie Howe, I think he's pulled up a corker there. He's got is that Corey Gakpo? Is that Gakpo Sangore, top player in Holland, known as what's that? No one has gone for Gakpo. 20 plus goals at PSV last season. Fair dues, man. That sounds like a hell of a play. He could be another rumour has it there, mate. You've just given us some inspiration there. So Maggot saying Keegan wanted to focus on the first team. That's exactly right, mate. He said when he took over with a great youth system, but a terrible first team because the kids were in the first team too soon. Well, that was Ozzy Ardiles' decision, wasn't it? He had to put them up, sadly. Keegan was great, but it was all built on sand. I think the problem is with Keegan's like he's like a comet, isn't he? He burns bright, but not for long. He's every club he went to, even in England as well. You hear Gary Neville talk about him and Beckham talk about him, and he was this larger-than-life, charismatic figure that made them feel 10 foot tall. But then he was gone short time after, wasn't he? That was just KK, wasn't it? That's just the way he was.
Yeah, it burned. You hit the nail on there. Burned very brightly for a short amount of time, and was never really able to replicate what he did at Newcastle anywhere else.
I don't think so.
It didn't work for England.
Kind of Fulham, didn't he? When he got them up, didn't he? Did he get them up from the Championship or were they up already? I can't remember now. He did get them promoted, didn't he? I think he got promoted. I'm sure he did. I think he went down a league, didn't he? He got them promoted, I think.
But it just, I mean, it never worked for him. I don't think he was the right choice to be England manager at the time. But he's got, we've all got fond memories of his time.
Christ, yeah. Legend stays.
We're certainly not saying he was a bad thing for the club. I think it was just a couple of those sort of choices were a little odd. The comment about having to build on Sanders, there was nothing to be built. There was just a steaming hole in the ground. I think at times. I mean, Newcastle were heading in one direction, and it wasn't a good one at the time. So
he saved Newcastle United, and if anyone deserves a statue outside the ground, manager-wise, it's definitely Kevin Keegan for what he did for the club, and he should be recognised. I mean, it's a criminal that the previous regime treated him like shit and didn't recognise what he did for the club. Maggott saying there he had 4 years at Man City and got them and Fulham promoted. I thought he did. I thought he went back to the Championship. And yes, Chris, yeah, good man, Jimmy. We've got Kenk as well saying that definitely we need to sign 2 wingers as we've seen today. Get Diaby, Purpley, Hudson-Odoi as a loan. Also midfielder, we need expensive options. Paqueta, a cheaper option is that Seko Fofana. So yeah, it's a good shout as well. But I mean, we're going to get stuck into this more on Wednesday. That's just probably wrapped up, I think, for tonight, Mark, isn't it? But come back on Wednesday, guys, and some new names have shown in the comments there. If you haven't already, please click that like and subscribe button and hit the notification bell. You'll not miss Wednesday's show. We're going to go on at 7 o'clock this week, so half an hour later than we normally do. But yeah, come and join us because we're going to get stuck into a few of the topics tonight that we've been talking about: Lascelles, Shelvey, and obviously a little bit about the transfer frustrations, and is it time to break the glass and flash the cash? So make sure you come back on Wednesday to check that out. Thanks a lot, trolls. Really appreciate you joining in the comments, buddy. Thank you so much. We've got another mail from Maggott. Raul Thomas would suit us, yeah, as would Zapata. Check out the Rumour Has It videos, guys. If you haven't, we've done a couple of them with the stats. And yeah, so this is us signing off, and we'll catch you guys probably Wednesday. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We'll catch you later.
Take care, guys.
Stay cool.